Williams, Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The 5. President Trump promised Americans a giant tax cut for Christmas. He expressed confidence again today. It's happening. Republicans plan to unveil a final merged House and Senate bill tomorrow with the aim of voting sometime early next week. Will it pass? Republican Senator Marco Rubio says he's a no unless the child tax credit for the working poor is expanded. The president believes the senator will come around.
I think he'll be there. He's really been a great guy and very supportive. I think that Senator Rubio will be there for sure. We're doing very well on the tax front. We have tremendous support. We have tremendous spirit. It'll be the largest tax cut in the history of our country. And I will say the Republican senators and congressmen and women have been incredible. So I think we will get there. It'll be in a very short period of time. It will be the greatest Christmas present that a lot of people have ever received. It'll be something special.
Something special. Well, the Senate's Democratic leader is calling for the tax vote to be delayed until Alabama's new senator-elect, Doug Jones, is seated.
It would be wrong for Senate Republicans to jam through this tax bill without giving the newly elected senator from Alabama the opportunity to cast his vote.
All right, Dana, so this is to be expected by Schumer because, of course, they don't want this to go through. So anything that they can do to be obstructionist, to prevent this from being implemented, is to be expected.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. And also I read today that they said it's like some false deadline. But the Republicans have always said they wanted to get this to the president's desk before Christmas, at the end of the year. And so they've been right on track. And this is before the Washington Post story came out about Roy Moore. The deadline that the Republicans set was after Obamacare repeal and replace failed. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to wait. I think the Democrats just they're trying to find something to say. But I thought today was really interesting to watch the president. He's just so close to getting this done. I think it's to be expected that you would have a couple of members who really want something to press their advantage right now, because there is this deadline. They do want a little bit more on the child tax credit. We can debate the merits of that. Ivanka Trump wants that as well. So they know that they have a chance to possibly get that. I don't think that at the end of this that they will actually not vote for it. There could be a little bit of room to play with on the corporate rate because the president wanted 15, agreed to 20. Now it's at 21. Marco Rubio's point is, well, going to 22%, is it that big a deal? The corporations are still going to be happy and we could actually do more to help the working poor. I don't know if that will be persuasive, but it could be with the president.
All right, so a little bit of the last-minute negotiations and deal-making, Jesse.
Yeah, he's using his leverage, and he's probably going to be effective because the deadline's fast approaching. I think this deal is much better than what we saw before. I don't love the tax cut. It's not big or bold enough, but it's gotten better in conference. They're dropping the top rate from 39 right now to 37, which is going to have a stimulative effect. That's good. And 20% is better than 25% for the corporate rate reduction, which is also positive. And the Obamacare mandate, Juan, that will get repealed. And that is a huge accomplishment for the Republican Congress. No one thought that was even going to happen. And then we had talked about this, people that live in high tax states like New York and California are going to be able to deduct your state and local taxes up to $10,000, not all of it, but up to $10,000. So that's a good thing. So I think this train's moving towards the station, and it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be the best Christmas present everyone's going to get because it's not as generous towards, I think, lower class and middle class Americans. It's only about $38 a week, but it's better than nothing, and it's very stimulative.
You got to laugh when you say that.
Why, Juan?
This is so absurd. This is such a giveaway to the rich. You might as well be
the rich pay more taxes, so they're going to get more money back. Their own money back.
Ebenezer Scrooge, America.
I think
this is what they're celebrating. They're celebrating a giveaway to not only the rich, but to the corporations.
It's not a giveaway if you keep more of your own money.
Yeah. Oh,
exactly.
What happened?
It's not the government's to give away.
What happened to Donald Trump, man of the people? I'm going to take care of the forgotten man, the middle class. I'm going to create jobs.
Well, that's what he's trying to do.
Even the corporations say this is not going to create jobs. This is, and let me just say,
Juan's not happy unless it's a redistribution.
This is so absurd and crude and rude and unfair in the Christmas season. Well, let me just say something to what Dana was talking about. This thing is far shakier than anybody wants to pretend. All the Republicans want to do is say, this is on a train. We're leaving the station. It's about to happen.
Well,
it's
Jesse,
not only that you have Bob Corker, rightly as a true conservative, worried about blowing up the deficit, but you have Marco Rubio now saying, hey, what about working people? What about the working poor? What about Mike Lee? He's on the edge, too. What about McCain and Cochran? Both of them sick, may not be able to vote. And then, of course, Doug Jones. If Doug Jones gets in there, and he's the rightly elected senator from Alabama, and it's only because Mitch McConnell wants to play parliamentary games that his seating is being delayed, then all of a sudden the math shifts radically and against this horrible bill.
Oh, we'll see. Dana, rebuttal.
No, the only thing I would add is that there's another thing that's happening here. The House always talks about that they pass all these bills and it gets stalled in the Senate. Actually, what happens, the Senate just has a different procedure. The other thing, in addition to the individual mandate getting repealed that Republicans have wanted for a really long time, and it's not been possible, is drilling in ANWR. And that's actually would be a part of this bill.
Gee, the reindeer are just celebrating.
Okay, Greg, how do you see it so far? I mean, you like it a little bit better now? It's a little bit more robust?
I just want that the reindeer are celebrating. I thought it was about the people. Now you're worried about the reindeer.
She's talking about drilling in ANWR.
That's good.
Oh,
that helps people.
That helps the reindeer.
The more energy independent we are, the better we are. We're more self-reliant. And this is
better for the economy.
It's better for everybody.
Yeah, just take away the national parks, too.
I feel bad about the reindeer. Look. All Juan's doing is he's doing what the Democrats do. They always block agendas by using the same tools, which is fear, hyperbole, bad hair. Everything's the end of the world. It's the apocalypse beats Mad Max, with Apocalypse Now floater. Everything is awful. That's why nobody believes you. I don't mean you, Juan, but the left, because everything is the end of the world. Net neutrality. Did you repeal today? I swear to God, I thought the end. If you saw the headlines on CNN, the end of the internet as you know it, everything is. And again, you can't. No Democrat can accuse anybody of jamming anything.
Right.
They spent 8 years of jamming stuff down our throats. So this whole process has been very slow, I think, and be under Trump, which is quite possibly the most transparent presidency I've lived in. You see everything.
Yeah,
it's not pretty.
see-through.
It's not pretty, but you're learning. You learn about the media, how the media lies. You learn about all the infighting. You learn about the flaws of the presidency. You learn about everything under this. You're absolutely right.
Modern-day presidency, Jesse.
But Greg, hold on a second. You don't think this thing has been pushed through and jammed down?
No.
We don't.
It's been going around, and it's actually being tinkered with.
There's been a lot of deliberation.
And people actually read this,
yeah.
unlike our Obamacare.
Oh, no. In fact,
you would have passed Obamacare.
I think hypocrisy is absolutely rank on this, given that you complain, what about Nancy Pelosi saying you have to pass it to know what's in it?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Now we do know what's in it.
I just laid out what's in it.
Let me just tell you, they are tinkering with it.
It's far less mysterious than Obamacare.
What's the promise? What's the promise to Rubio, Kimberly? The
Unbelievable.
promise to Rubio is, don't worry about it, says President Trump. We'll make some kind of deal.
Well,
this is going to happen. It's only because they don't have any legislative accomplishment, and they're dying to have this.
You know what's amazing about that, though? Is we have so many people consumed by Russian collusion and palace infighting. You say nothing's happened. Deregulation, pipelines, ANWR, the Paris Accords, tightening relationships with China, India, and Russia, repealing the mandate. A lot has been happening. So keep chasing Russia. Keep complaining. We'll get stuff done.
How about all the unrest in the Middle East thanks to old Trump?
Oh, yes.
Unrest in the Middle East.
Old
Did that just happen?
Just like
Because it was fine during Obama.
More Juan fake news. All right, Dan, I want to come to you and talk to you about Paul Ryan, because there were some reports today that House Speaker Paul Ryan is actually considering leaving Congress after the midterm elections. Here was the White House response to those rumors.
The president did speak to the speaker not too long ago and made sure that the speaker knew very clearly and in no uncertain terms that if that news was true, he was very unhappy with it. The speaker assured the president that those were not accurate reports and that they look forward to working together for a long time to come.
Okay, Dana, so White House Communications coming out with a swift response
in support of Ryan and saying the president would be unhappy. I mean, this is different, because if this news had come out maybe 4 months ago, the president might have said, good.
Yes.
Okay, but I think that we've seen a couple of things happen that are different. There's been personnel changes in the White House. You see the president actually thinking, oh, wait a second, they are trying to actually pass my agenda, with passing a lot of bills in the House and then getting some of the stuff done in the Senate where they can, but also being supportive, especially on judges in particular.
Sure.
And then you have the Paul Ryan's office saying, no, this is not happening. It's not happening. Now, I will just say that that's what Speaker Boehner's office said right up until the day that he made it kind of a sudden decision.
Sure.
You read that Political piece that says overnight he woke up and he was like, you know what, I think I'm good here. And he resigns all of a sudden. So I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. But I think it is interesting and good if you're a Republican to say, okay, now they all look like they're on the same team with President Trump as the head coach and pulling people together. If they do get this bill passed, the tax reform bill, with the other pieces that are in it, I think that success will feel good to them, and they'll be able to figure out what they can do in a second year, which is not a lot legislatively. Those are usually the most difficult years.
But I think they're up against some really challenging days ahead in the short term in terms of budget issues, spending.
Always are.
And I don't think it's going to be happy times for Paul Ryan. He wants to do a big cut in terms of entitlement spending, so Social Security, Medicare, and the like. This is going to be hugely controversial, even among Republicans.
Will it be the end of the world, Juan?
Oh, yeah, no.
Guess what?
It's rude, and it's a giveaway to the rich.
Children will starve.
High
Children
five.
will starve. Puppies will be crushed under a steamroller of hate.
You love to say these things
Coming
because
up
you want
next.
the rich to just do what they want. You say,
Yes,
oh,
I
Lots of
love
people.
rich
attention
people.
to the rich.
I hate the poor.
Yes,
So
you
worried
do.
about
Oh,
you
yeah.
were so worried about deficits, and we were talking about tax cuts. Now we're talking entitlement reform. Don't touch that.
What are you talking
Where's
about?
the spending cuts coming from?
So take it away from Grandma. Push her over the cliff, says
man,
Jesse.
you're a commercial,
Oh,
Ron
look at
Williams.
this.
He's actually helping to make our case.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Because
exactly
these are,
right.
Pushing
Hyperbole,
grandma off the cliff.
scare tactics, that's all they have.
Oh, yeah. If you had
the
a real
pocket's got
bill,
lint in it,
if
nothing
you
else.
had a real bill, Kimberly, if it really was tax reform, I'd say America
Well,
would say
the
great.
I do think that the president campaigned on a 33% top rate. So he wanted to go from 39% to 33%.
Right.
The president and all the Republicans ran on that. That's not what this bill is
Right.
ending up at. It was at 39%. He was okay with
Yeah,
that.
you should
It's
be
getting down to
thrilled.
37. I mean, actually, Juan, I think you guys can
Compromise.
No,
You don't want anything to go down.
No, well, first of all, if it was the case that our economy with the current tax reform.
I know this argument.
No, but the economy is doing well.
It's good. You don't want it to be great. You don't want to make America great again.
America is great, in my opinion. Apparently not yours. But I'm going to tell you
economy
something.
for a lot of people.
No, he wants a
no.
NOAA.
The
Make
economy's
America
not great.
weak
What's the
again. That's
unemployment
Juan's
rate? How's
vision.
the stock market, Jesse?
Is that Obama's fault? You going to take credit for that, too?
You bet this is Obama's economy.
There
yes.
is so much revenue in the
rapid.
federal government. It is all-time high. We can afford to give some money
yeah.
back to the people who earned it themselves.
Yeah.
Ebenezer Scrooge
No, no,
speaks
no,
to
no.
America.
You're greedy if you
Amen.
want to keep part of your paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
Or your
Exactly.
payday.
You check the box, pay more taxes voluntarily, Juan. There's a little
yeah.
box there.
It says
Have you ever
Jesse's
checked it?
taxes.
Have you ever checked
Oh,
it?
get
I
out
doubt
of
it.
town.
You saw Juan got crushed.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
ahead. Was she fired? Was she dragged out of the White House after storming into President Trump's residence? You can't make it up. Omarosa tells her side of what sounds like a wild story next.
Let me love you. Let me love you. Don't you give up. I won't give up.
Omarosa is out at the White House. We've heard the rumors. Chief of Staff John Kelly fired her. Then the former Apprentice star allegedly stormed the president's residence to find him, and she got dragged out. She says none of that is true in her first interview since the announcement.
I wanted to make the 1-year mark. That was one of the goals that I set out to, and then get back to my life. I like to hear all of these interesting tales, but I have to tell you that they're 100% false.
Did you try to enter the residence and that happened?
It is ridiculous to assert that anyone would be able to violate the security parameters that is outlined in the most secure building in the world.
Were you escorted off?
No, I was not. I think you should take the word of the U.S. Secret Service over someone who has a personal vendetta to bring me down, and they personally gain by continuing to advance these false narratives.
As for reports, Omarosa wanted out because she wasn't happy with the president's handling of Charlottesville and Roy Moore. Listen.
There were a lot of things that I observed during the last year that I was very unhappy with, that I was very uncomfortable with, things that I observed, that I heard, that I listened to. I can expand upon it because I have to still go back and work with these individuals. But when I have a chance to tell my story, Michael, quite a story to tell. As the only African-American woman in this White House, as a senior staff and assistant to the president, I have seen things that have made me uncomfortable, that have upset me, that have affected me deeply and emotionally, that has affected my community and my people. And when I can tell my story, it is a profound story that I know the world will want to hear.
President Trump had these brief words about her earlier.
I like Omarosa. Omarosa is a good person. Thank you all very much.
That's it. Okay, Jesse, you have any inside scoop on this? You got lots of sources down there.
No, I do not have the inside scoop on Omarosa, but she does rub people the wrong way. I've met her a few times. She's been nice to me a few times. Other times she corrected the way I pronounce Omarosa or Amarosa. I still don't know if I have it correctly. I don't like how the media has treated her. The whole thing. So Trump hires a very intelligent, successful black woman, and what they do is they say, oh, she's a joke. And then when he fires an intelligent and successful black woman, they say, oh, you can't do that. Where's the diversity? So it's like no matter what Trump does, he'll be criticized. I think she stuck around so long because she's so loyal, and we know the president values loyalty. I don't really know what she did in the White House. I still think that's a question a lot of people are asking. It was the office of, it's a public liaison, so you build support with outside groups for the president's agenda.
Sounds like you know what she did.
I believe, well, but I don't know if I've seen a lot of results in that department because I think there's a lot of opportunity there when you think of all the things he's put forward to generate a lot more support when it comes to people in Congress, outside groups, you know, associations or corporations.
I thought one of the toughest questions that Sarah Sanders got today really was this question of, so she got fired yesterday, or like resigned, whatever. She's escorted out. She's not there any longer, but she gets to be paid by the taxpayers until January 20th because she says she wanted to last a year. So that maybe her book title would be My Year at the White House.
Is that your inside scoop?
I'm just assuming.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. She's going to be paid for the remainder of the year. So maybe that's sort of the deal that she brokered, you know, on her way out. And then therefore it's a full year. But also, you know, other people that were there had stayed on the books for a period of time as well, like Reince Priebus and things like that. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I think it's very clear from the tease there and what she was talking about that she's trying to, you know, push a book. She's going to tell her story, and we'll see who she, you know, identifies and lays out in terms of the people that she was unhappy with about their policies or viewpoints. I mean, one thing is she is a savvy businesswoman, and, you know, she's got a story to tell, so you've got to be aware of that when you hire somebody in that capacity.
I guess rumors that might not be true, but it is kind of fun to imagine her storming the East Wing, demanding to see the president.
It's an American tragedy. You know, Trump lost a stalker. She was the official stalker. She trafficked on the idea that she had a special relationship with your boss. And I never try. If you've ever worked in a place where somebody claims that they have a special relationship, it's a fabrication. It's a way to like kind of
remember that
rub your face in it. But you know what? I see a huge potential here for a reality show. Who's out this week? You got Omarosa. You got Roy Morosa. They move into a house in Alabama, and they live together, and they just see how things work out. It's kind of like the worst idea I've ever had.
Yeah, but Roy Morosa sounds like a drink.
Or they could get a contributorship at a cable TV network, providing some insightful commentary about the goings-on in the White House.
Right. Juan, they want me to ask you for a quick comment because we've got some news to break.
Well, I mean, obviously what's striking here is that John Kelly, the chief of staff, really couldn't stand her and really was pushing to get her out. And that's the inside story. And then the question is exactly how she got pushed out. But to me, she didn't do the job that Jesse articulated, which is to build relationships with the black community or anybody else. And Jesse, her primary credential was that she was a celebrity. That she was a celebrity who got fired on Celebrity Apprentice.
Inflated her
this woman had no reason. I mean, black, white, Asian, I don't care what. There was no reason for her to be
She's
there.
managed to maneuver herself into a very prestigious position. So she's obviously intelligent.
That's great. In other words,
successful to
everybody who's on a hustle deserves to be there.
You're calling her a hustler?
Look, she was definitely better than Gary Busey, the other choice.
Oh, is that? I didn't realize.
Yes.
I didn't realize.
All right, we have breaking news tonight regarding the FBI's investigation into the Hillary Clinton email scandal. The brand new developments right after this.
There's a boy who's trying to take a chance and dance and find a way to run away with her heart in the back of an old Ford truck.
Breaking news on the Clinton email investigation. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in D.C. with details. Catherine?
Well, thanks, Juan. Within the last few minutes, Fox News has obtained a letter that was sent this afternoon to FBI Director Christopher Wray from the Senate Homeland Security Committee. But what's key about this letter is we believe it's the first time we've seen one of the original drafts of Director Comey's exoneration statement from July of last year that recommended against criminal charges in the Clinton email case. I have the 5 pages of that exoneration statement here, and we've been combing through it here at Fox News. And there are really 2 big takeaways. Number one, this term grossly negligent was removed from the draft at least twice, and it was downgraded to extremely careless, and that was the language that Director Comey used in his public statement. And we know based on our reporting that the removal of the term grossly negligent was made by this FBI agent, Peter Strzok, who sent these anti-Trump texts. The reason that term matters is because gross negligence is the legal standard under the federal statute for prosecution for the mishandling of classified information. The other key thing, and we haven't seen this in any media reports until now, is that they made a change about the likelihood that a hostile actor was able to penetrate Hillary Clinton's email server. And the original draft said, given the combination of factors, so it's talking about the lack of security with the server and the fact that it was a target, we assess it is reasonably likely that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's private email account. And in the public statement by Director Comey, that was downgraded to the term possible that they accessed the Clinton email server and the hundreds of classified messages that it contained. So bottom line, we've got one of the original drafts of the exoneration statement. It shows a key term, grossly negligent, was dropped, softened at least twice, and that the original statement said that it was likely that the server had been accessed, had been hacked by foreign actors or hostile actors, and that was not included in that final public statement, Juan.
Catherine, thank you so much. That's so interesting. Dana, what do you make of this?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, James Comey has resurfaced on Twitter, and he sends a few cryptic tweets now and then. They're usually in response to something that's happening in the news or to the president.
TikTok.
And I sort of, no, not quite those. But I do think that, I know that the investigations are ongoing, but at some point you have to wonder if, to the benefit of the FBI and to the American people, if there doesn't need to be some sort of public accounting by him sooner than later. I think that I felt like I kind of knew the part about the removal of the standard, the grossly negligent.
Grossly negligent versus
I thought we sort of knew that.
Careless, yes.
This question about that it was reasonably likely, that still is not proof that it happened. So I don't know what Strzok was doing. Maybe he was pulling one over on James Comey, or perhaps he was just persuasive, either on the merits or for some other nefarious reason. But James Comey owns those words.
Right.
I mean, he's the one that when you sign off on it as the principal,
Absolutely.
when you speak them, they are yours. So Peter Strzok might have been a bad actor, possibly, I don't know. But I do think that James Comey has to own it, and he probably should talk about it sooner than later.
So, Kimberly,
Yeah.
you're in the prosecution business, at least you used to be. So grossly
I
negligent.
still prosecute you every day, Juan.
Thank you. Grossly negligent versus extremely careless. Some people say it's the same thing. What do you say?
Well, no, it isn't. I mean, one is a higher standard and more egregious example of a violation here. And that's why one would be prosecutable and one wouldn't. So in terms of the intention and what occurred, that would be persuasive. And then you would take something like this where you have that evidence and that information, then it should be the purview of the AG to be able to decide, in fact, whether you should proceed forward on a charge. So that's another example of, James Comey overstepping his bounds by, in fact, trying to make the decision as to whether or not it would be sufficient evidence in rising to that level. So what it looks like is they actually tried to tip the scale.
Okay.
And that is not the job of the FBI, and that's what when Dana is saying that he's going to have to make a statement about this and own it because he's the one that got up there and read the statement and made that determination, etc. So I think we need to hear from him. We need to hear from Strzok, and it's very disturbing. And anybody, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, declined to stay an independent, you should be concerned about this because this goes to the heart of our top investigatory agency and the job that they needed to do to be
So
fair and
Jesse
impartial.
and Greg, the other key point that Catherine said was, instead of saying that there was likely that it was the server being hacked, they just said possible. What do you guys make of it?
Do you want us to answer it together?
Or
Yes.
Let's hold hands.
Yeah, let's hold hands. Why
Go
don't
ahead,
you go?
Greg. You want me to say something?
However you're most comfortable.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, that's the
The
last
edits.
time I'd say I throw a jump ball.
The edits show that they were going out of their way to help Hillary Clinton, which ironically preserved her candidacy, which then elected Donald Trump. In that election, ironically now, allowed us to find out that they went out of their way to help Hillary Clinton. This is what's so fantastic about this, that what they did ended up creating the opposite result.
Opposite day.
Jesse?
That's true.
It's true.
An opposite presidency. That's what happened.
Crazy laugh.
Juan, I hate to correct you right to your face like this, but last week
You don't hate
a
it.
debate about whether or not it was hacked, and you said, no.
Well, it wasn't. That's exactly.
Now we have the FBI saying it was reasonably likely that it was penetrated, and then they decided, it was possible. So either way, there's a chance it was hacked.
In other
and
words, they
used
still don't have any
bioenergies.
proof. They
No,
don't
because
have
the
any
hackers
proof.
don't leave footprints, Juan. That's
What?
why they're
Oh,
so
get out of town.
sophisticated.
More
Let me
proof
get
Get
out
out
of
of
town.
town. What do you
In
know
the Russian
about
collusion
hacking?
story.
Oh,
The other thing is,
What do you know?
President Obama said on camera when he was asked about this, there was no national security at risk. This was just a small thing. So that goes against that. And this isn't the first time he's been pressured to change language. I know it was his underling here, but Loretta Lynch, the DOJ head, when she said, I want you to call the investigation a matter. Don't call it an investigation.
Remember that?
Just call it a matter. And he caved. So Comey has a record
he has
of being
answered that.
persuaded by a bunch of people.
He answered that, though.
What did he say?
He said that FBI investigations are matters, so he thought that it was like equal.
But it's another example of him doing something to benefit the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Oh, please. This is so
But which
ridiculous.
elected
Talk
Trump?
about- this
That's
is-
the beauty of this.
Let me just say, you should not go into a case with some kind of prejudice against the person being investigated, and yet you guys now say, oh, yeah, this is evidence.
But that's what the president's supporters are saying now about Strzok regarding the Mueller investigation.
But there was no prejudice against Hillary or against Trump, but that doesn't serve the conspiracy
Yes,
theories.
there was.
Let me
we
just
talked about it all this
Oh,
week.
you
Juan,
get out of
but
town.
the tax-
Mr. Conspiracy over here. Ahead on the 5, Mr. Gregory on campus coddling patrol. Why some colleges have now turned into petting zoos.
Yes.
Next.
Yes.
To help fight stress of upcoming finals, colleges are using therapy llamas. University of South Florida and Radford University are trucking in llamas and other beasts to help students cope. So, this is great for the students, poor things. But what about the llamas who have to absorb the noxious, annoying angst of fragile idlers as they moan about their insulated existence in perhaps the easiest phase of their comfy lives? Yeah, some studies show that pets lower stress, but what about the stress of the pet? Talk about torture. Imagine being a llama and you're bussed miles from the comforts of a pleasant petting zoo, only to have some whiny bozo with issues running their bony, stinky fingers through your gorgeous fur. Imagine a poor bunny. Yeah, they're using bunnies too. Forced to sit on the lap of a gender studies major, griping about how studying has really cut into her social justice puppetry theater. I'd put these critters on suicide watch, because if I were an alpaca, guinea pig, or a slow loris, I'd hurl myself into traffic before becoming a stress sponge for these pampered slackers. And where will this end anyway? When these precious pupils graduate, how will they handle the real world? Will llamas accompany you to a job interview? Yeah, that'll go over well. Well, unless it's this one. See, my stress levels have already plummeted. Thanks, Lorenzo.
Wow. Is that a real block?
It is a real block, Kimberly, and I'm going to you first. Isn't this animal abuse? The poor llamas are having a good time, and they got to sit there and be petted by, like, neurotic kids?
Yes, but don't they, like, spit viciously
Yes,
at
they
you?
can.
No, really. If you get too close and try to mess with it, so this might be the llama's revenge. This
Yes.
is all
And it's
like
like
a
gross
decoy.
spit, too.
Yeah, it's really. I think it's not good. It might be like
No, but you know what you do?
as
You
well.
go there, if they spit, you have them spit on your driver's license, and it's laminating.
Oh
That one
boy,
wasn't
producers,
very good.
you let him do this.
I don't know. Animal abuse?
I don't know. I had a very different college experience.
Yes. I had no-dos. In finals, I just
Yeah.
popped no-dos. you remember those pills?
Yeah, you had speed. That's
Yeah.
what
I
it
never
was.
tried one of those.
If anybody has any, you know my address.
I never tried one of those. I was too afraid.
Yeah,
I'm surprised the fraternity brothers haven't stolen the llamas and gone and like drank with it.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
That would be
Why do
animal
you-
something.
Why do you?
That's what they do.
Why do
Or
you
something to
regularly
it.
beat up on college students?
I do not regularly beat them up. I'm not even allowed on the campuses, Juan.
Is that right?
Either is Jesse.
By a court order.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesse, you're never allowed.
No,
They allow
I
me
love
to.
college. By the way,
Yeah.
colleges are most college students are now becoming more conservative, more libertarian because they're rebelling against the social justice.
It's the antithesis of it, yes,
They're the new
absolutely.
rebels.
Excuse me. Where did you go to college?
I went
Berkeley.
to Berkeley, but that
Oh,
was a long
Mr.
time ago.
Left Wing.
Berkeley.
I think the llamas are at Berkeley. Isn't that was it?
You.
No, they came over to UC Davis now. We used to be normal. I don't know what happened.
I just think college is pretty competitive, and even to get into Berkeley, you got to be really good. And then to succeed, I
Top
think
3% of the country.
So why are you picking?
PC
Why are you
system.
making them into snowflakes?
Here's an you know what it is? I see what you're saying, Juan. You know that the Democratic Party needs llamas. because Trump is breaking the brains.
Yes.
And so you need to to get through next
send
week, you
those
got to pet a
llamas
llama.
to Alabama.
Oh
a llama in Bama.
Is that what they need?
Actually, I think it's fine. Let them have the pets.
I think it's so ridiculous.
I'm
Can you
having a llama
imagine?
on my show next weekend.
Really?
Yeah, an exclusive, llama exclusive, and I'm going to talk to one of these llama professors.
Okay, but by the way, if they do social media with the llamas, like, how are you going to get a job in the future if they're like hanging out with llamas and needing comfort and stress reduction? You have spit all over your face. No one wants you.
Yeah, if you went to Conservative U, they'd cut that llama up into steaks. That's what they do.
You know what?
Or boots.
I hope so. All right, an update on Piegate next.
Sacrifice pleasure when I'm